How's it going, everybody? My name is Ged. This is Fabulous Flix, and I would like to welcome you to episode 2 of A Walk Around Guelph. Hanging out with Denang Balsera the other day was awesome, and tonight's guest is absolutely no different. I had the pleasure of spending about 25 minutes with an absolute staple in our community. He was with the Guelph Mercury for 27 years, and for the last 7, I'm pretty sure that I got to harass him a whole bunch. He's dragged me to golf tournaments and helped me make him look bad. But all joking aside, what an unbelievable guy. Tonight's guest is Michael Bennett. And he's got a very interesting story, from being at the Mercury forever to what he's up to now, some charity stuff he's involved in. And he may be the only guest I have that has a recommendation for a YouTube show. I'm pretty sure he's getting all hippy-dippy now that he lives downtown Guelph. Anyway, without further ado, the unexcitable, pretty sure I caught him just after a nap, Michael Bennett. Welcome to the show, Michael Bennett. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ged?
I am well, thank you. Quickly before we get into this, if you see random objects moving behind me, you are not hallucinating, nor are you having a stroke. Those are my cats who own and run the house, and they do what they want. So I apologize in advance if there's any distractions for the next few minutes.
I thought Stacy ran the house.
She does, but she doesn't often crawl around on 4 legs.
She runs you.
Yes, she runs the human that does what he's told in the house.
Okay.
So first things first, your hair looks remarkably better than mine does for being in COVID. Have you zipped down to Niagara to go on that podcast where the lady will cut your hair and do it live, and that's how she's getting away with it? Or what's going on with that? Because you look stellar.
Just go to the shower. And, Brianna from Aqua did a great job last time I was in to see her. So that's why it looks great.
Fair enough. And the next question is, obviously you're in the real estate game now. We'll talk about how we met in a few minutes, but are you wearing pants?
Yes.
Would you tell me if you weren't?
I will demonstrate.
I'm wearing
a pair of jeans. However, these jeans actually double as track pants.
Fair.
So they're the buffalo jeans that have a track pant feel. So
you are showing your age. Buffalo jeans.
So they were actually...
Were they on sale at Stitches when you bought them in 1994?
No, I bought them when we could still travel. And the whole point of buying them was because they're comfortable. So go through an airport with a blazer on and look good, but are still comfortable on a plane.
Fair enough. All right. So what do you got going on? I guess quickly, for anyone who doesn't know, you and I met originally back, and I would have to guess 2011, in a very different life, where I was producing home shows, which, I mean, no one's going to watch this that was part of that, which was arguably the most ridiculous and worst experience of my entire life. But you and I met and crossed paths, and then years later I was with Intrigue Media. Big shout out to the guys at Intrigue. Awesome group of people. And there you were, just lingering in the back of one of these little things. And you seem to be that guy that you seem to just quietly get the invite to everywhere. You're not necessarily the main stage performer, but it seems like I can't go anywhere in Guelph in any type of social or charitable or anything involving any company without you kind of lingering in the back there. You seem to be like that extra on the movie that people start to recognize, like the boom guy in Star Wars. What's going on?
When you spend, so I was at the Guelph Mercury for 27 years, right up until the end. And still,
and you started there when you were 30. So just want everyone to be able to.
I did. In your math, that would be about 12. But, and I still bleed newsprinting, and still that industry was a amazing experience in my life. But being part of the daily newspaper in town is truly, you learn and meet a lot of people, and you learn who they are, and you get to know people from a different perspective, especially being their advertising rep. So you have a lot of really good conversations with people and learn a lot from that. So that's how just, connections and relationships and friends, and you kind of get invited to these things. And when you love Guelph as much as I do, you try and make sure you're there.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I remember many a day when I was at Wayne Pittman, you and I would hang out in the office and talk about stuff we were working on. And sincerely, man, as much as I love to give you the gears, it's only because I love you. And it was always such a positive experience, because there are times where you encounter vendors and it can be not necessarily combative, but it can lack a genuine touch. And that's something I never ever had to worry about. And ironically, you and I developed kind of quite the friendship. I mean, we also have a very frustrating pastime slash sport and hobby, Guelph, as well. So you and I have been able to kind of further each other's kind of friendship down the path that way. But now you're rocking the real estate game.
And as a natural transition, I'd spent about 20, it's somewhere between 20 and 25 years of my time at the Guelph Mercury, primarily focusing on realtors and home builders.
Mm-hmm.
And had been the president of the Guelph Home Builders Association at one point in that life, and kind of really entrenched in that real estate and, land development and building game, getting to know a lot of those people. And the natural transition was, you find yourself, suddenly, actually it was, what day's today? It was
22nd of January.
22nd of January. So it was 5 years ago on Monday that we got the announcement, 24th
Wow.
of January, that the Guelph Mercury was closing. And, it's when you're, at that point, I was 45 years old and trying to figure out what the next rendition of life would look like. And one of my clients and good friends, David Halls, approached me and said, "Hey, why don't you consider doing this with me?" And looking back, I've now been registrant for 4 years, and I've had more fun and met more great people in the 4 years than I did in the time at Mercury. It's been great.
Interesting. Well, very, very cool. Yeah, no, it's weird because, here we are, and, you and I spoke briefly before you came on today. And, one of the big reasons that I wanted to do this series was to basically take, people that are public figures, people that we see on billboards, our local politicians, small business owners, and really spend a few minutes kind of just being human and shining a human light onto a bunch of these people. And again, I know I love to give you the gears, but you've been a very, very positive staple in our community for so long. And I know you have a couple things going on right now, so I want to make sure that I give you the time to kind of talk about that. But ironically, you came from the news era where you could post information, you could distribute information about what's going on in your community without having to worry about like emotional attacking on the other side. And I find that kind of interesting that we're sitting here now talking about this, and the world is so run on social media. And when somebody posts news or posts information, everybody and their sibling gets to be an expert and rebuttal. And part of me almost misses the newspaper day where you could distribute information and that was it. It was a one-sided conversation. If people had objections to it or thought ill of you as a person, they could just, complain at the kitchen table about it.
Well, and you know what, we did get a lot of controversy in the newspaper world, and the people in editorial can speak to this more than I can. But letters to the editor were essentially the original version of comments on a Facebook post or Twitter responses or things like that. The difference being that you had to actually put pen to paper. You had to address an envelope and you had to put a stamp on it. So there was a check and balance just on slowing the emotion down.
Yeah.
And if you watch some of these Facebook posts, our mayor Cam Guthrie, who give him a ton of credit. Cam is great at being out there, and he literally sticks his chin out to take the shots. Yeah. And he doesn't deserve a lot of the shots he takes.
No.
But we're fortunate to have a mayor that is so accessible. But with that goes this flurry of people, venting their own anger or their own frustration with situations in ways that they shouldn't.
Yeah, actually, his post was why this started. Not kidding.
The one, like,
Not
can
kidding
people just stop being mean?
Yeah. I saw his thing is why are people so mean? Like, I understand times are stuff, and that's why I want to do this. Like, we need more positive vibes. We need more something positive and upbeat. And I thought that maybe if we could shine some wonderful human light onto some of these people, that even if it's 2 or 3, the next time someone goes to make that comment, or if you post a house and all of a sudden someone's jumping all over you about something completely unrelated. Maybe they take that minute to go, oh yeah, that guy likes to watch Disney movies by himself. I don't really know what you're going to talk
see
about.
it in our industry. Like if I put an ad out, I sold my own house, which was a very small house, and you put a Facebook ad out because that's one of the ways that we promote houses nowadays.
Demographics 35 to 60.
Yeah,
best spot to do it.
We used to put them in the real estate section at the Guelph Mercury, Guelph Industrial Homes. That was what we did. Now we put them on Facebook, and people jump on them going, $400,000 for
this is ridiculous. I moved to Guelph in 1938, like, come on, man. Yeah.
But the other thing is, so when I was 20 years old, you didn't instantly feel entitled to go out and buy a house.
Well, in defense, cars hadn't been invented, so
they had. Well, you know what? Henry Ford was working on the Model T. Let's be honest. The first one had rolled off the assembly line, but not really after that. So, we didn't have that entitled at 20, or as soon as you graduated from university, you would go out and buy a house because interest rates were near 10%. Housing prices were different. If you're just looking at the price of the house, it doesn't really reflect what the cost is when you're paying, less than 2% interest.
For sure.
So there's a whole other conversation there. The reality is, our housing market's a little bit crazy right now. I'm not going to deny that.
No doubt.
Supply and demand issue. It's that simple.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that after this, you're actually making notes about the basement. You're going to be like, here's what I think your house is worth.
Oh, I've already got it done. And, it's on an email timer. And as you know, I try not to sell anything. I try to just make it easy for people to buy. And, part of that is just taking good care of people. And, it's what our whole community should do, right? If we all take care of each other through this, we're going to do great.
Yep. And if we did, you and I might not be sitting here because I wouldn't have had this idea to do it. Okay. So you've been up to a couple quick things before we get into this. Over the pandemic, you told me that you are jumping into a pretty well-known charity, and you've been up to a couple other things. You want to share that?
Sure. So probably the biggest thing we've done is at the beginning of the pandemic, back late March, early April, Beverly and I were actually driving back from Collingwood. We'd gone up to get all of the stuff that we were going to self-isolate up there with. When the Premier asked everybody to stay in their local community, we went up, got our stuff, came back. And on the way home, we were like, we're going to miss for the next month or two, because that was the season when you would get dressed up, you'd put on a tuxedo, you'd go out for a gala. And we need to try and figure out a way to bring people together. So the same way you're trying to, create something fun and upbeat for the community, we try to do that to get people through the early lockdown of the pandemic. And Guelph General Hospital was kind of the most passionate thing we could think of at the time. And basically pulled off a Zoom fundraiser in 4 days that raised $8,000, and people had a lot of fun, and they actually got dressed up. There's people in tuxedos. Dave Pellischuk was in tuxedos and boxers.
Nice.
So
my play right there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it was truly about connecting and doing some good for the community.
Awesome.
So that was kind of the first thing. And then other than the normal things that we do, Adoptive Family, Trees for Tots, Children's Foundation, all of that stuff, because I sell homes and because I recognize one of the most important things in our community most important challenges we have in our community is homelessness. And with at least 3 efforts afoot for supportive housing, which I personally, I'm an uneducated person when it comes to this, but from what I see of it, it looks like it's a very good attempt at a solution to make housing accessible to people that are vulnerable and not able to access a safe and secure source of housing. And, when you sell houses for a living, housing's important. So creating that environment where people can feel safe and improve themselves, I think is a really good thing. So kind of doing a pandemic challenge of, I'm saving about $10 a day just in a pint of beer and fast food. So that $10 is going to go to United Way, who's doing some fundraising for it. So.
That's amazing. Hopefully after this, you can send me the link for that, and I will put it down in the description if anyone wants to help contribute.
Sure. Cool.
All right.
I gotta find the link. So
yeah, a link, old man, is a thing at the top of a website.
Oh, website. Is that that?
And for the record, hold on. Before we start talking movies, I'm totally stealing the last word here. Michael Bennett is arguably the worst driver of the golf ball I've ever met.
but I can putt.
Ooh, touche. All right. So before we start going back and forth just on golf, I want to know over the next kind of month, because we started in the stay-at-home order. It looks like it's been extended a little bit. We're not 100% sure how long we're going to need to be kept inside for. So what are the top 3 things? Can be movies, can be shows. What are you going to watch over the next month?
Well, so it's pretty simple. Beverly Ann and I are in the midst of Yellowstone.
I have heard that's amazing.
So I have to say it is probably some of the best writing of a TV show I have seen in years. Taylor Sheridan writes some lines in there that are priceless. Some of them are definitely AA or R-rated, but they are priceless lines. And
okay.
I promise you I wasn't going to swear much on this.
Fair, yeah. Trying to keep it, yeah.
But Beth Dutton is a badass chick.
Fair.
All you need to say
completely acceptable.
All you need to say about that. So that's kind of the big one that we're watching right now.
And what got you onto it?
It was
just
one of those
you kind of came across, or did somebody recommend it?
I came across. We watch a lot of first episodes of things as you're flipping through, the various streaming services. Yeah. And we were actually in the process of paring down like how many streaming services we were both paying for. Mm-hmm. So did that sort of, January, budgeting, cleanup, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So, just stumbled across Yellowstone and have fallen in love with it. So.
Yeah, I've heard it's phenomenal. Okay, so that's first one. Second
one. So we started last summer. We decided we were going to rent a trailer and drive around Ontario with an RV trailer because.
Well, someone of your age, it's typically what you do.
Well, yeah, it's an age-related thing, but it more importantly, and you'll choke when you hear me say this, but I bought a new Ford F-150 from Wayne Pittman Ford, which were phenomenal, by the way.
So long overdue, but different conversation.
Anyhow, so we wanted to travel, and travel is a big part of our life. And with, the travel restrictions in place, we thought that would be a good way to have an adventure and see part of our province that we had never seen or wouldn't normally go and visit. Sure. I cannot tell you how spectacular the drive is along 17 from Thunder Bay to Sault Ste. Marie.
You can actually. I've done the drive many, many, many times.
So I've done the South Shore of Nova Scotia. I've done the PCH down to Big Sur, including some golf course out there that I can't afford to play, but someday I will.
Fair.
I did have lunch with T. Woods the day I was there, though.
Very cool.
So basically we wanted to drive and experience Ontario. So Beverly Ann started me watching a YouTube show called Keep Your Daydream. So it's a couple that are full-time RVers and with kids and whatnot. So they just basically share tips and how-tos on how to live life with an RV.
I got to tell you, you might be the only person that I will have the absolute pleasure of doing this with that is ever going to mention a YouTube show.
I got 2.
Holy crap. All right. Well, that is awesome.
So the Keep Your Daydream, it's a couple that just started this, and you can watch from the beginning to the end. I skipped a bunch, so my plan is to go back and fill in the gaps.
Got it.
But it's a travel show, and you get to see some amazing parts of North America through the eyes of somebody traveling in an RV. That's brilliant.
You got me. I got nothing on that one. That's amazing. All right. So those are your first 2. And what rounds up the 3?
You're going to hate the third one. You're going to love and hate the third one.
Oh, God.
TaylorMade has a series of YouTube videos.
Hold on. How do I end this right now and turn this off? Hold on one sec.
So it's Rory and Tiger and a few other guys that basically the TaylorMade sponsored golfers that they got them hanging out around a practice green or a chipping area and just talking amongst themselves about what they do and how they do it.
That's awesome, actually. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
It's pretty cool. And then there's some silly stuff. So they literally have a driving. They're trying out a new driver, or iron set. I can't remember what it was, but they have like drones in the air and they have targets for them to hit. Oh, the drones were holding paper targets. So here's a bunch of guys who are millionaire golfers sitting trying to take the drone out of the sky rather than the target. So it's like, they're just
because everyone's 12 years old at the range still. Everyone wants to hit the cart guy.
And that is truly one of the targets is a cart guy, because it makes them real, right? So
absolutely.
It's a great way to keep the passion for the game alive through a winter when all you can do is putt.
That is awesome. Okay, so here's the one I didn't tell you, because obviously I prepped you for your 3. So if you could recommend somebody to watch a movie or a TV show that would help them better understand who you are as a person, what movie would you tell them to go watch?
I'd love to say Yellowstone for Kevin Costner's, actually for Rip's character, because that would be like, I would love to be that bad.
Okay.
But yeah, you know what?
What would a movie be? Give me a movie that you're like, if you want to know a little bit about me, watch this movie. Like, for example, mine is always going to be probably Happy Gilmore. It just is what it is. Yeah. Goofy, happy-go-lucky, golf-centered, pretends he doesn't know the rules.
Okay, so
yeah.
If you want to go golf related,
no, it doesn't matter. It's up to you.
I'm going to stick to a Kevin Costner theme.
Going Tin Cup.
Tin Cup for one scene, because I've been there and I emptied 2 sleeves of Max Fly HT Baladas onto a tee and took like a 12 or a 13 on a par 3.
Fair enough.
No.
So Tin Cup would be your movie.
There we go. We'll go with Tin Cup.
I love it. And that's and I think that's an interesting choice, because he's someone who kind of follows a specific path and then tangents off kind of half 3/4 of the way through and kind of does that go for broke thing. And it's such a great movie. Such a good movie.
And he gets the girl.
He does get the girl. I've watched that movie more times than I would. And that movie is actually loosely based on the life of Gary McCord.
Yes.
So instead of living out of an RV in the parking lot, Gary McCord actually lived in a storage shed in Phoenix, Arizona. So he had this little space heater that he plugged into the wall outside, and he would sleep in this one of those garage areas that you rent. And that's how he would get from event to event to event. So
tiny little known fact, the guy I'm named after, so where Michael comes from, is a guy by the name of Mike Parco, who was my dad's boss in the golf business when my dad was an assistant pro in the Buffalo area.
Yep.
Mike was a driving range pro at one point in his life.
Oh, that's wild.
So it gets better, was playing in the Western New York Open.
Mm-hmm.
And after 36 holes, I think, because they were 54-hole tournaments at the time, after 36 holes was 2 up on Ben Hogan.
Wild.
I got the news story here. I got the story from the New York Times or Buffalo News here. So
I remember when you showed that to me about a year or so ago. It is absolutely mind-boggling. I totally forgot about that.
So that ties back to the Tin Cup as well. So
nice. Well, Mr. Bennett, sincerely, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your schedule. I know you guys are running like crazy because the market is busy and you're trying to find ways to conduct business in a safe manner. But all joking aside, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. No, it was fun. And you know what? I look forward to beating you up on the golf course when I'm hitting it right down the middle.
So that's a wrap. Episode 2, a walk around Guelph with Michael Bennett. As much as I give him the gears, I don't think he's actually that old. However, he's such a fossil now in the city, I'm pretty sure that one day they're going to replace that statue downtown and put his head on one of those figurines. Unbelievable guy, unbelievably good sport, a great friend, and one of those guys that you could reach out to for any reason, and he'd be the first guy to help you out. It was an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to do this again. I hope you guys are enjoying it. So until next time, enjoy some incredible YouTube series viewing. Take care.